Hi guys, welcome back to Tip Tuesday, where I'm going to share with you another quick design tip to help you look a little more professional and a little less DIY. Today we're going to jump right in and I want to talk to you about something that you probably call line spacing or line height. In typography and in the design world, we call that leading. And I'm going to give you a really quick history lesson in case you don't know why we would call it such a strange word. You can read it on the screen as well. Back in the old days, when printing was done on a big, loud, messy printing press, and the guy at the printer would set little blocks of metal letters in a tray, in between those lines of letters where he was making the local paper or the flyer, between those lines, he would place a strip of metal lead. And they came in different widths, just like the letters came in different sizes. And that is how we came to call it leading, because it is literally that space between those lines of text. So you'll hear me use those words interchangeably. Now you know another little tip that you can use at your next party to make you look even smarter than you already are. So when we talk about leading, obviously we're talking about the space in between lines. And in this example here, we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at the leading in each block of text. And then we're also going to talk about the space outside the leading, and you'll see how that comes into play here. This example here, we've got at the top, there's this little line of text here. Obviously, there's no leading there because there's no second line below it. Then we've got our headline, and there's two lines of type there. And then we've got what we'll just call our body text. So this applies whether you've got a whole page of copy, like it's a handout or something, or you're planning your next social media post or your blog post graphic, that kind of thing. So the first thing we want to do is fix this within here. And you'll notice I've already gone back and I've fixed the line breaks because this is not where Canva would have broken the lines. So like we talked about last week, let's make it make as much sense as we can to the people who are reading it. So once we've done that, we want to adjust this. Now, obviously, you probably know that you can make this too tight. And in Canva, when you click on that block of text, you'll see up at the top where it says spacing. So this is where I mentioned Canva calls it line height. Google Docs calls it line spacing, something like that. So we adjust this line height. Now you can go way too tight or you can go way too loose. And I'm going to suggest in this example here, it's all too loose. And how do I know that? I know that because it's all starting to bump into each other, right? So our headline is kind of running into the top, the headline's running into what's below it, the body copy is running into the logo below, and the page looks really full, even though it's really not that much text that's on the page. And with just a little bit of adjusting, we can make that look a whole lot better. So let's go back up here. We'll click on our headline, go to spacing. And obviously you can make it too tight. We don't want it to be super squishy unless you're going for some really cool effect, which most people are not doing. You want a comfortable amount of space in there. Think of it as you want each section to kind of be its own little chunk of information. So you want it to all stick together without feeling like this body copy does right now, where it's all kind of falling apart and kind of separating out into space. So we'll tighten up the heading. We'll tighten up the spacing on the body copy, just the line height here. So again, if I were to make that super tight, it's just going to look a little overwhelming and it's not ideal. You want just a nice balance of space so that there's still a little bit of kind of breathing room in there, but not so spaced out, all right? So let's say we're gonna go around here. There is no magic number for this. I could give you percentages and formulas, but they don't always work. So really just eyeball it to what feels comfortable, all right? So let's say that's where we're gonna sit with this. Now you'll notice how much room has opened up on the page just by making those two little adjustments. We didn't change the size. We didn't change anything else, just the leading in those paragraphs, all right? So then we can start to adjust some other things. So we can pull the body copy down a little bit, and then we can pull the headline down a bit so that it relates more closely to the body paragraph and is becoming a little more separated from this bar of information at the top, okay? So see how much space there is now? I like to think of copy kind of, we talk about like this personal buffer zone, like we have this personal body space, and you want this, unless you're with someone that you're really comfortable with, you want kind of a little bit of breathing space so you're not like right on top of everybody around you. Your type is kind of the same way. You want that little bit of space around it. A lot of space if you can, but in something like this is perfect. It doesn't need to have a ton of space. Don't feel like you have to start cutting copy or making the copy smaller just to give it more room. And really, that's all it needs. So now you've got sort of these individual chunks of information. So you've got the info at the top, so people know, okay, this is my new blog post, it's on the blog. We've got the in-between of the headline and the body copy of what it's saying, and then we've got the logo at the bottom, or that could be your website URL or whatever, or your tagline, something. It doesn't have to be these elements. The point is make them distinct so that you can gravitate towards the more important information and not feel like you're sifting through so much copy. So same amount of copy, but it looks like it's taking up a lot less space, all right? So there's your little tip for today. Use that to adjust what you need to as you're working on different pieces, and you'll see a big difference in the legibility and the professional look that you're going for.